Welcome to Plugin of the Day. In today's video, we are going to be checking out the Analogue Obsession Plugin Channev. This plugin is an interesting take on a channel strip. So let's go and check it out. Okay, so I'm in Reaper. I have this set of drum tracks up in Reaper, just for your knowledge, so that we have a totally unbiased review of this plugin, Channev. I've taken out all of the plugins on the drums bus. I've taken out the plugins on my pre-master bus, and I've taken out all the plugins on the stereo bus as well. So nothing will interfere with the actual sound of the Channev. So let's bring it up. Let's have a quick look at what it actually looks like and the functions it has. It will start at the end here, and this tells you the routing. Now, there is no way to route in any other way than described at the end here. Beginning with the pre-72, which is this unit here. This is the mic pre. Then we go on to the de-esser, the D03, and then we go into the EQ81, which is the EQ here, this unit. Then we go on to the C64, which is the compressor, and then the L64, which is the limiter, and then at the very end, the T01, which is a tape saturation effect. Some people like to have tape before a limiter, but in this case it's after, so you can decide whether you want to use this at all or have a different setup. But that's how this plugin is set up. If you want to instantiate a portion of this plugin, so say the pre-72 here, this knob will switch it in and out. Illuminated, then it is in. We have a pad next to it to lessen the output. We also have a phase flip switch here. Down here we have an output gain, but it is actually taking away gain. Whatever you push on the mic pre here, you can negate that and bring it back to a level that you'd like by using this function here, this knob here. The same thing goes here. We have a de-esser, and this is the threshold to instantiate the de-esser. We have a VU meter here. Again, we've got release, and we have a dry wet knob, so in parallel. In and out here, you can actually use, it starts with a shelf, but you can turn it into a bell shape here, and you can soften the effect here. Again, with the EQ, we have an overall knob here, so this will act as an output, volume output, for all of the functions of the EQ here. We'll start there, and then we can, it starts off all over with shelves, but you can turn that into a bell with this knob here, okay? And likewise here. High Q, I believe, means a narrow Q. So if you want a wider Q, leave it off. If you want a narrow Q, hit the button. Turning it on and off is here. Compressor, it speaks for itself really. Got threshold, ratio. This is the release, I believe. We have a gain knob here to bring gain back in to the plugin, or into the compressor, I should say. And we also have a mix knob, which is great, which means we can use it as a parallel compressor if we wish. We also have an external knob here for sidechaining. And the limiter is very similar. We have a threshold knob, a mix knob for parallel limiting, a release knob, and a gain pushing knob. And again, we have the external function here. And at the very end, as I mentioned, we have this tape saturation knob if you would so wish like to use that, and then an overall output, either to push output or to cut output. Now we've gone over all the functions, let's see how it sounds. So that is the mic pre there. We'll now move on to the de-esser and see what that does. So you could hear some of the top end being taken off there with the de-esser. Now, I wouldn't really use a de-esser normally on the whole drum section, probably more on cymbals and hi-hats and things like that. This is just an overall view of how this plugin works, okay? So we'll take that out and we'll move on to the EQ. You can hear how the high Q works there. I found a bit of a muddy bit there at 379 Hertz. Decided to cut a little bit. It's pretty accurate, this plugin. It works pretty quickly. You don't have to go searching around too much to find what you're looking for. So I'm quite impressed at the moment. If you're enjoying watching this video, please consider smashing that like button and subscribing to my channel so that I can keep on bringing this free content. the end here, when I pushed it all the way up to the +20, you could just start to hear it saturating and distorting slightly. So I've just pulled back on that. Overall, this EQ sounds very nice. And you could definitely hear the difference when I went into bell shape as opposed from the shelf. The shelf is obviously a bit more natural, and the bell was a little bit harsh in the high end there, so I took that back out. Let's move on to the compressor. So, very nice compressor, reacts really well to the audio signal coming in. You can see the transients, and this is a really nice knob here because even if you're fairly new to audio production and mixing, you can get an idea of how to use this knob just by the speed and judging it with the time of the peaks coming in, the transients hitting. You can see how fast this moves, and when you see it move pretty much in line with the tempo of the transients, you know you're at the right place. That's something to look out for with this particular plugin. I like that. Let's move on to the limiter. Right, again, I like this knob here. As you could hear, it really saturated as I pushed it up to 500, and then coming back down, we can get a cleaner sound from the limiter, just match it up with the speed that you see the needle moving at compared to the tempo of the transients. And you know you're pretty much in the right place. But if you want that thicker, distorted kind of sound and then use that as a parallel compression effect, you can do that with here. So you just turn this down, maybe to 50%, maybe slightly more, and then push that and you'll get that thicker sound coming through. Great, okay, so we're now going to move on to the final element, which is the tape saturation, and let's see what that sounds like. It doesn't do a huge amount actually. It probably just it's adding a little bit to it, but it's not a heavy-handed tape emulation. So in reality, yes, if you want to add a little bit of saturation, a little bit of gloss, the overall sound, but I would more likely probably use a separate tape emulation as opposed to having this. But it's nice to have. And of course, as you can see, I've pushed the sound slightly here to bring the volume up, and I'm going to push it a bit more, and let's see how it handles the audio. Right, even with the threshold at 0 on the de-esser, when I instantiate the de-esser, when I bring it in, there is a difference in the sound. So the circuitry in this is certainly doing something. Let's have another quick listen to this. To my ears, it's just the attack on the transients is slightly more, very slightly brighter with it in, but the threshold off. So that's interesting. Let me know what you think about that. I don't think my ears are fooling me, but everyone's ears are different and we all listen in a different way. So maybe play about with this and tell me what you think. Let's move on to the mic pre. Yeah, you can definitely hear a difference in the sonics. They're a bit brighter, a little more saturated, a little bit more in your face. Very nice. Now, the great thing about this plugin is that it is freeware and donationware. So you can go to the Patreon and donate. It is also freeware. So I would highly encourage you to go to the Analogue Obsession site and look through their plugins. But if you want a one-stop shop for a channel strip, I encourage you, go and check this out. I'm not paid by any manufacturer or anything like that. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Go and get it if you haven't already got it. It's not going to hurt your pocket because you can get it for free. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon. Sabs out.